So today we are talking about an extremely important subject. We are talking about your wrists in the golf swing, and I've got a very, very special guest who's going to help me talk about those wrists and how they can help you play some better golf. So thanks for joining me here at the Forest of Arden once again, and today on the channel I've got a very, very special guest all the way from the US of A. We've got Eric Cogorno. Now on YouTube there are some fantastic instructors out there giving you some fantastic information and drills that can help you play some better golf. I started seeing some of Eric's stuff probably over a year ago, followed his progress, and we actually connected via Instagram and then via email, and we've been chatting a little bit over the last few months. So I've invited Eric onto the channel to talk about a subject which I think can help lots of golfers improve their golf, and we are talking about the wrist angles. Now this was a perfect topic to do a collaboration video because of course you've got two wrists. Eric, I think you'll probably agree that this is a really, really important topic that can help lots of golfers improve their game.
Hey Chris, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today, excited to get to know some of your audience. And I know this topic today is going to be a huge thing for a lot of the golfers that watch the channel. So let's dig right in, man. If you want to get started, and then I'll follow along.
Okay, so if you've not heard of Eric before or seen any of his content, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link his channel down below in the description box. So head over there, click on that, go and watch some of his videos, subscribe to him. It's definitely going to help you play some better golf. At the end of this video, I'll also place, I should say, a clickable link over here which will allow you to subscribe to Eric's channel. Also reach out to him, post a comment on some of his videos, let him know that you come from my channel. It'd be great for him to see some of you heading over there and watching his videos. So I'm going to discuss in this video, I'm going to discuss the trail wrist. Many of you right-handed golfers, that's your right wrist, and then we're going to hand it over to Eric and he's going to talk about the lead wrist. So as a general summary, I would say that one of the most common problems that I see amongst amateur golfers is just generally how they move their wrists in the golf swing. Now for the purpose of this video, in this right wrist we've got two planes of movement. We've got this movement here which we're going to call cocking and uncocking, and we've got this movement here which we're going to call hinging. Now with your arm you will have the ability to rotate your hand in this fashion, but that's more of a forearm or a shoulder movement, and in this video we're talking more about the wrist movement. So the first thing I'd like to see in that trail wrist will be at setup. I would like to see a little bit of shape in that trail wrist. So you can see that my trail wrist is a little bit bent this way. What that's going to indicate to me is it's going to indicate that my grip is fairly neutral and that I've got a little bit of forward lean of the golf club at setup. Too often I'll see a grip which is too strong and the handle too far back. If those things happen, we tend to get this arching move into the wrist. So at setup, I would like to see a little bit of shape in the back of that trail wrist. Again, that's indicating a good solid hold on the golf club and a good slightly forward handle position, certainly with the irons. Now in the backswing, what we're going to see in this trail wrist, we're going to see this cocking motion where the thumb starts to point more up towards the sky, and the knuckles on your trail hand are going to be basically pulled back towards your trail forearm, so that's more of a hinging motion. So at the top of the golf swing, those two things that we have there should be present, and what you'll see if I open up my hand is my palm is going to be facing somewhere up towards the sky. Now from setup to the backswing there is no one point where those things happen, it's just a gradual movement across that time. Some golfers certainly will do things a little bit differently to others, but we're looking for, in that backswing, that right wrist is going to hinge, it's going to, knuckles are going to pull back, and as we rotate we end up in this position here. Now it's pretty important in the downswing that we maintain that position right the way from here down towards our delivery. Many of you who struggle will actually maybe not achieve a too bad a position at the top, but as we start down we will either uncock the wrist too soon or we'll start to move the knuckles away from the forearm and start to flatten that wrist. These things tend to steepen the shaft, they tend to open the face, they tend to cause you to release the club a little bit too soon, they tend to cause many of the issues that you're going to have. So in the first part of this video we're talking about adding a little bit of bend at setup, making sure that in the backswing we've got a little bit of cock and a little bit of hinge. Up to the top we should have that right wrist nicely positioned underneath the golf club, and then we're really trying to maintain that right the way down to here, at which point we're going to feel like we let all of those angles go through the golf ball. So trail wrist is definitely something which a lot of golfers could work on to improve their game. Now, as you can probably imagine, the wrists are very much connected. If the right wrist is doing one thing, the left wrist is doing something very different as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to hand over to Eric who's going to talk about the lead wrist, And what you're going to find from this video is that you might actually benefit from thinking about the trail wrist. You might benefit from thinking about the lead wrist. It's almost a little bit of a suck it and say, what works for you? What feels do you think give you the best results out on the course? That's going to help you in your practice and in your performance. Right, Eric, over to you. You're going to talk about that lead wrist and what it does in the golf swing.
Awesome stuff, Chris. So listen, guys, now we have an idea of how the trail wrist works in the golf swing. Obviously, Chris talked about what it's like at the address position, what happens during the backswing and down into impact. Obviously, when we hold on to the golf club, we have two hands, right? So what I want to talk to you today about is what the left wrist and the lead wrist does here in the swing. So let's talk about what it does at address, what happens during the backswing and an impact that can complement what the right wrist does. Now, what I want to talk about here, and we're going to start with the address position, and the idea that I want to get across is how the left wrist works in your swing primarily controls two different factors. It's responsible for the club face angle and the dynamic loft. Okay, so left wrist and the right wrist, club face angle and dynamic loft. So some of the checkpoints we're going to talk about here as we go are based on us wanting to have that club face angle and the dynamic loft good. Hopefully most of you guys know for us to hit really solid shots, the club face angle needs to be square or slightly closed would be okay. And the dynamic loft, we want to have a de-lofted dynamic loft there to hit those irons pure. So that's really the primary goal of all the movements we're going to talk about. And I want to really talk specifically about the setup position and a couple of different checkpoints during the backswing and down into impact. Now, we're going to start with the setup position from face on. Now, we can't talk about the wrist conditions really well without saying that it depends a little bit on the grip. So when I take my setup position, if I have what I would consider a neutral grip, which is the V of my hand going somewhere between my collarbone territory, I'm going to start with a little bit of cup or a little bit of extension in my left wrist just naturally. Now, if I were to have a stronger grip position that's more turned, there'll be even more cup or even more extension preset. And if I had a weak grip, there would be less cup or less extension. So let's assume a stock model here. My left wrist position will have a little bit of cup to it. Now, throughout the backswing, what I want to do with my wrist conditions are going to be dictated again on where is that club face angle. So if I have it slightly cupped at the address position, during my backswing, the first checkpoint I have is when the club is parallel to the ground. And if you have a neutral grip, I want your left hand at this position to be basically flat, maybe a slight extension, but to the point where this club face angle here is slightly tilted down. I don't want it straight up. I'd like it to be slightly tilted down. Left wrist position fairly flat at this spot. As I work up into my backswing here, the next position is going to be about at left arm parallel. And again here, I want my left wrist position to be pretty flat if I have that neutral grip. And the same thing when I get up to the top, right? So the two big checkpoints during your backswing are going to be first parallel, club face slightly tilted down, left wrist pretty darn flat, and then the same alignments at the top, right? So left wrist pretty darn flat, club face pretty parallel to my forearm alignment at the top is what I'm going for. Those are general things I want you to understand. I want to talk about two more things. Number one, how does your grip affect those pieces? And then a drill or two for feedback that you can correct if you're off on those key spots. Okay, so let's first talk about how the grip affects your wrist conditions during the setup, backswing, and downswing, and then we'll dig into the drill part, right? So, like I said, if you have a normal grip here, the wrist conditions are pretty easy. You want to have that thing pretty darn close to flat the entire time. The tricky part is if you have a weaker grip or a stronger grip, it's a little bit different. Let's start with the stronger grip. If I start with a stronger grip position, like I said, I have a little bit more cup at my setup position. So a little bit more cup, and I still have a square club face. Basically what that means we need to take out of this is you can have a little bit more cup then throughout your entire backswing, takeaway, up to the top, even down into your downswing and impact position, right? So from this angle, if I have a stronger grip and a little more turn, I can have a little cup here early. I can still have a little cup at the top, the face is square. I can have a little cup as I start down, and I can still have a little cup pretty flat at the impact position. So that works with a stronger grip. Now if I have a weaker grip pattern, more like a Ben Hogan or a Jordan Spieth type of model, and my left hand is turned like so, now I'm preset flat. Now I don't have many options. I need to have a really strong left wrist position, really flat or even slightly bowed Remember the point of it being have the club face and the dynamic loft under control. So with a weaker grip, I've got to probably have a little bit more bow or a little bit more flex during my entire backswing and during my downswing and into impact position. So again, from this side, to hit those spots where the face is turned down, look at my left wrist, I have to be a little bit bowed or a little bit curled under. Same thing at the top, same thing coming down, same thing into the impact position. So just understand that a lot of these videos we talk stock models, but it really depends on if your grip is normal or stronger or a little bit weaker. Let's go into a couple awesome drills. If you're not hitting those key checkpoints, how can you fix them? So if you've been following Chris for a while, or if you follow my channel, or at some point check out the videos, you're gonna see a lot of different drills on how to fix the left wrist and the right wrist. Some of the things that I love to use, a couple things in particular, the hanger training aid I love this Tour Striker wrist educator I use a lot, but I know what most all of you will have is just a normal plastic hanger, so we're gonna work with that in the beginning. So when you use this hanger, this is really meant for those of you who have a left wrist that's too cupped during the entire backswing or downswing. If you struggle with your club face being too open, having too much loft, hitting the ball too high and to the right, this would be something that you want to pay attention to. So the hanger here, quite simply, you just pop it on the side of the club here on the left side. It'll feel a little bit different if it's the first time you're doing it in terms of grip. When you put the hanger on, the top portion of the hanger goes against my left wrist. Now, if I were to make a good backswing and have good wrist conditions, I still have that pressed up against my left wrist. So from this side, good backswing, still pressed up. In transition, if I have good wrist conditions, it's still pressing, even pressing more against my left wrist early and down into the impact position. Same thing from here, pressing my left wrist at the top, pressing it more in transition and down into impact. This is a really good drill for those of you to lower the dynamic loft and really get more compression with your irons. If I did this drill with this on the side of it and it came off and I cupped my left wrist too much, you notice that this hops off of my arm here, and the same thing in transition. There's no pressure there, club face too open, dynamic loft issues. So hopefully that makes sense. This would be the main thing that I would start with. Like I said, we have a ton more on how the left wrist and right wrist work, but keep in mind a couple things here. Your grip matters, okay? Left wrist being flat throughout the entire backswing and downswing is an excellent idea if your grip is neutral. If it's stronger, a little cup is okay. If it's weaker, you need to bow it a ton more. So hopefully this part on the left wrist and Chris's part on the right wrist helps you guys in terms of the wrist conditions, and Chris is gonna wrap it up here in a second.
Thanks, Eric. Some absolutely fantastic information there about that lead wrist, and again, like we've said at the start, you know, lots of golfers can benefit from just understanding a little bit more how these wrists work in the golf swing, how that affects the club face, the club shaft, the delivery, all these kind of things. And it's really powerful to be able to link those things to the ball flight. So having a good understanding of, in your golf swing, if you hit that particular shot and the strike is this certain way, what that might mean my wrists are doing in the golf swing, that's a really powerful place to be. So these bits of information, what me and Eric have given you, hopefully leaves you in a better place to make some more educated decisions about your game, what is correct to change, what is okay to leave alone, and actually what's going to have the biggest impact on your golf game. And that's really what we've tried to do in this video.
Thanks again, Chris. This has been a blast. It's been awesome to be here on the channel. I hope all of the golfers watching really enjoyed the video and can learn something. If you guys do want to check out more of the videos that we have on our channel, Eric Cogorno Golf, Chris will put the link in the description down below. And you guys are here. Obviously, you like Chris. We're going to be featuring him on our channel coming up here shortly with another video. If you guys want to hop over and check that out at some point. Thank you, guys.
So thanks to Eric for joining me on my channel, really appreciate that. Hope you found something useful from this video as well. And like I said at the start, head over to his channel, watch some of his videos, comment on some of his videos, and subscribe to his channel because there's some great stuff coming out of his channel. As we said, I will link his channel in the description and also a clickable link over here. Thank you for watching. Usual stuff as always. Below this video, there's a comments box, there's a like button. And also would love you to subscribe to my channel if you're not a subscriber already. Big thanks to Eric. Thank you to you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you back here again soon.